2022 was another unusual year for video game releases, but there were still quite a few games I enjoyed. Like in previous years, I'll be going over the games I finished in order of favorite to least favorite, and then going over the games I haven't finished yet. I also won't be discussing re-releases that lack significant additions or changes. With that being said, here are my favorite video games of 2022. Overall, my favorite game of the year is Tunic. With an art style and gameplay that draws inspiration from 2D Zelda games, it manages to build upon and subvert many traditions of the genre. By finding instruction manual pages that are mostly in a fictional language, necessary information is gradually conveyed in subtle yet clever ways. The combat is also challenging, with some elements of Souls-like games, but there are numerous accessibility options to make fights more approachable. Even though Tunic is somewhat daunting and occasionally frustrating due to its difficulty and cryptic design, I thought it was an extremely rewarding and memorable experience. Next up is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. As the first 3D Kirby game, it feels surprisingly safe, but it still stands out because of its consistent level design and its unique art direction due to its post-apocalyptic setting. While many copy abilities have been simplified, new features like the mouthful mode transformations and upgradable copy abilities provide unique twists on the traditional gameplay. It's also one of the longest Kirby games, with longer stages that feature many collectibles, secret areas, and optional missions. While I wish it was a bit more ambitious, Forgotten Land is still one of my favorite games in the series. Splatoon 3 features my favorite campaign in the series so far, with a combination of elements from the previous campaigns, including the larger hub areas with collectibles, and the more focused level design of the Octo expansion. It also features some of my favorite story developments and character moments in the series. In its current state, the multiplayer is very familiar, but I'm still enjoying it because of additions like the seasonal catalogs and improvements to Salmon Run. Outside of the slower update schedule and lingering connection issues, I'm really enjoying Splatoon 3, and I'm looking forward to the additional content. I enjoyed Pokemon Legends Arceus more than I expected. Despite its lackluster visuals and the simplicity of its gameplay structure, going through each area while trying to complete the Pokédex was surprisingly relaxing and fun. I also liked the higher difficulty, the additions to the battle system, and the emphasis on its story and characters. While it's hindered by technical shortcomings and a lack of gameplay variety, I still think Pokemon Legends Arceus is a refreshing take on the series. While I enjoyed Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, its story was disappointing. Its alternate timeline setting is underutilized, but as a fan of Three Houses' cast, I still enjoyed it for its unique character interactions. The gameplay is also somewhat standard in comparison to other Musou games, but elements from Fire Emblem add a bit more depth, like the weapons triangle and the ability to interact with other characters between battles. As a fan of Three Houses and Musou games, I enjoyed Three Hopes, but I wish its story had been better developed. Finally, while I liked Sonic Frontiers, I wanted to like it more. It features some of my favorite story moments and character writing in the series. The open zone gameplay feels promising, but it's hindered by awkward physics and inconsistent difficulty. The cyberspace stages can be even more frustrating, with worse physics, and an over-reliance on returning levels that often conflict with the changes to Sonic's controls. Even though I'm conflicted about many elements of Frontiers, it's still my favorite Sonic game in years, and it gives me hope for the future of the series. Of the games I haven't finished yet, I'm really enjoying Xenoblade Chronicles 3 so far. It features some of my favorite characters in the series, along with an interesting premise and world building. I'm also enjoying the combat system, with a combination of elements from the previous games, every main character in the party at all times, linked forms for specific pairs of party members, and the ability to change each character's class. After over 40 hours, I took a break to avoid burnout and to play other releases, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is still one of my favorite games of the year. Lastly, Vampire Survivors was a surprise indie success, but I'm somewhat conflicted. Even though the gameplay is fairly simplistic, surviving enemy onslaughts is fun to some extent. While the roguelike elements provide variety, certain weapons feel less viable than others, so each run has an element of luck that can be frustrating. I still think Vampire Survivors is incredibly impressive for what it is, but I find it's more enjoyable in shorter increments. In general, I thought 2022 was a great year for video games, but a lot of the most acclaimed games didn't appeal to me. There are also several games that I haven't tried yet for various reasons, like prioritizing other games during crowded release windows and waiting for updates or additional content. While some games will most likely get delayed, I'm very excited for many of 2023's releases, including Resident Evil 4, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, and Mina the Hollower. On that note, thank you for watching.